Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Jeffrey Epstein Show. I'm your host, Bobbycapucci, and this is a morning update. Tonight is ABC's airing of their Jeffrey Epstein special. It's on at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and it stands to run for 2 hours. And they also have their 6-part companion piece podcast that they're going to be releasing. I know, six parts. I'm sure they're going to get to the whole story in those 6 parts, right? Basically, I'm sure what they're going to do is give an overview of the case, probably talk to some of the victims, stuff like that, which is great. Like I said on yesterday's podcast, even though ABC is late to the party, even though they squashed that story, it's still, the more information that gets out there, the better off everybody is who's involved in this case, right? So, of course, ABC is never going to be forgiven for what they have done, but it's good that there's more information coming out on a mainstream platform. Even though we all know that ABC truly doesn't care and this is a face-saving maneuver by them, it is still, sometimes when stuff like that happens, it benefits you as well, right? Us as well, because the more information that's out there, the better off this case is. Because like I said before, there are still people that are, that aren't aware of what's going on in this case, that they truly don't understand what's going on. They think it's just a meme. They think it's just another rich guy who died and killed himself in jail. And they don't realize all of the underlying things and how many girls were truly impacted by this. And that's a failure of the mass media, folks. That's a failure of the legacy media. They have the reach to let everybody know what's going on. You see how quickly, once they start talking about something on the legacy media, it gets injected into, daily life of everybody. So why don't they talk about this story more? Why isn't this story in the forefront? Again, I know it's repetitive at this point, but who are they protecting and why? I want to know. Virginia Roberts wants to know. All of you out there listening want to know. So are they ever going to give us any answers or no? That's really what it comes down to. Are we ever going to really know what happened in this case or aren't we? Is the Department of Justice going to do the right thing and pursue this the way that they should? Or are they going to just drag this out and say they're having investigations and et cetera, in hopes that the public loses interest? Well, if that's their plan, they're in big trouble, because I don't think anyone's ever going to lose interest in this. This is one of those cases where there's so much that happens on a daily basis that it's impossible to lose interest in it. So, with that said, we're going to jump into our article here. It's from ABC News, and the headline is, Jeffrey Epstein survivor paints portraits of other survivors. Each one of those should have never happened. And the article is by James Hill, Mark Remillard, and Lauren Efron. It was published January 9th, 2020 at 5:49 a.m. Eastern Time. With a soft pastel in hand, Maria Farmer sketched out a portrait of a young woman. It's one of 7 she created so far as part of a series, each showcasing different women drawn on a brightly colored background. And we know Maria Farmer was the artist that was abused by Epstein in New Mexico and in New York, etc., etc., and we know that she was an art student that was specifically picked by them so that they could, engage in their disgusting behavior. And we know that she is very brave for the way she has stood up, and she stands up and speaks out against what Jeffrey Epstein has done. There's turquoise, there's pinks, there's purple, there's yellow, there's blue, there's green, and orange. And so that's each color behind the girl represents her, Farmer said. All have one thing in common. They have survived horrific and traumatic experiences allegedly at the hands of Jeffrey Epstein. I'm painting these beautiful survivors, Farmer said. I want these girls to be honored individually. I wanted it to portray how beautiful these women are and how strong they are, because they did survive. This is a great gesture by Maria Farmer. And I think it's really an awesome thing for her to do. Sometimes you can only do what's in your power for you to do, right? Like for me, there's no way I could go out and bring these people to justice. All that I can do, all that's within my power, is to bring this story to the public, to sit on here and run my big, fat Italian yap about the injustice that these girls have received at the hands of not only the predators, but the government as well. And Maria Farmer's using her talent, her artistic ability to create paintings of the survivors. And I think it's a great tribute. And I really think that it's an awesome thing that Maria Farmer's doing here. The drag of the pastel across the canvas, the fluid motion she used to shape the eyes, the hair, the face, these are familiar strokes to Farmer, who used to find great inspiration and passion in her art. But only recently has she been able to stand at an easel again. I absolutely stopped painting because of Epstein, Farmer said, and in a weird way, I kind of started painting because of him, because I wanted to honor the victims. Now, her experience was so traumatic that she stopped painting, she stopped doing what she loved, because that experience was so traumatic. Now think about that, folks. Think about that. Whatever it is that you love the most, think about being abused while in pursuit of those dreams or while doing that. And think about how much harder that must be to reconcile every single time you go and attempt to do what you used to love. There is one portrait missing from her collection, her own. Farmer, who says she is a survivor of Epstein, provided the earliest known criminal complaint about him to law enforcement. I'm going to be a blank sheet of paper in mine, she said. I am just a blank sheet of paper, according to the U.S. government and the FBI, and I have felt like a blank sheet of paper for 24 years. I feel invisible. It's heartbreaking to read that. It is absolutely, positively heartbreaking to read that. And Maria Farmer, if you're out there listening, you're not invisible. We see you. We see you. And we stand here ready to stand by your side as you pursue your justice. Because every single one of these girls has been abandoned. They've been left to fend for themselves. And that the time for that is over. It's time to rally around these survivors and time to let them know that it's okay to come forward. It's okay to talk about anybody who was involved in this. Anybody, from presidents on down, whoever was involved, it's okay to talk about them. And you know what? At this point, I don't even think you need to worry about the government protecting you. The people that are here to stand side by side with you, we'll start a GoFundMe. If Ghislaine Maxwell can have Navy SEALs protecting her 24 hours a day, I'm sure that we can find some Navy SEALs to protect these girls too, right? While they come out and they tell their story. Because if it comes to that point, then we got to do what we have to do as the public. We have to step in. If the government doesn't step in and do the right thing, then it's our job as the public to step in and tell the government to F off, and we do the right thing. Because we can't rely on them anymore, folks. We can't rely on them to do anything besides maybe not even infrastructure jobs anymore. The government can't even do that correctly. Farmer said she first met Epstein in 1995 when she was 25 years old. At that time, she had just graduated from the New York Academy of Art, and her art career was taking off. I was selling my paintings for over $20,000 out of my studio, she said. Nothing was going to stop me. I just knew I was going to be an art star. Farmer said she was introduced to Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell, a British socialite and pedophile, who was an associate of Epstein, at an art show that they put on by the New York Academy of Art. She said she was told they were important art patrons. So, again, I don't like the wording associate of Epstein. That's not true. It should be Epstein's partner in crime, maybe even Epstein's boss. Epstein looked kind of distinguished because he had gray hair and he always had this smirk like he knew something that other people didn't know, Farmer said. He went to shake my hand and said, "You're so talented. I love your painting. But here's the thing. You're going to give us a discount because we're not going to pay full price, but we're going to make it up to you." She said Epstein took home one of her paintings that night, one that depicted the back of a dark-haired man standing in boxers in a doorway, looking at a blonde woman in a purple dress lying on an antique couch. "That was me sitting there in a contemplative manner, lying there on the sofa," Farmer said. "I'm fully clothed. I'm in the back, tiny on this sofa, but I'm, a real size, but the viewer sees me as small." After the first encounter, Farmer said Epstein hired her to collect art for him, which at the time sounded like a great opportunity. At first, Farmer said she kind of admired Epstein because he told her that he had grown up on Coney Island in New York in a working-class family and went on to create an empire for himself that included a portfolio of luxurious properties around the world and vast amounts of wealth. Yeah, right. Like Obama said, "You didn't build that." You were foisted into that world, my man. Ghislaine Maxwell's people hooked you up. You're not fooling me. You might be fooling everybody else, Epstein, with your nonsense, but you're not fooling me. All right, I am on to you. I know exactly what you were up to at this point. You were the brute. You were Gregor Clegane, and Ghislaine Maxwell was pulling the strings. That's how it went down, in my opinion. But just days into her new job, she said she started to see cracks in Epstein's facade. For one, she said Epstein neglected to pay artists for the paintings she had acquired for him. She said she wanted to quit, but Epstein convinced her to stay on in a different role, one that required her to man the front door of his New York City townhouse, signing in his guests, and she said he told her she could work on her art there. She said Epstein gave her a tour of his townhouse on her first day in this new role, during which he pointed out various pinhole cameras. Again, folks, more confirmation that this place was wired and cammed up for him to record who was coming and going and who was doing what. He said, "Do you see that? Like, well, we're going to be able to watch you right there. There's a pinhole camera. Oh, there's another one." And I thought, that was odd. "Why are you pointing them out to me?" Farmer said. I said, "Well, where does this all go?" And he said, "Well, it's right there. Let me take you in the room." Farmer said Epstein led her into a security room of sorts that was stacked with monitors showing all different camera feeds throughout the home. At this point, when I'm in the security room, I realize, well, I won't be going to the bathroom here. I won't lie down for a nap because, look, there's a bed upstairs, the other bed, the toilet, the bathroom, the shower. It's all on these screens. These very private moments people should have are on these screens, she said. Where are those videos, folks? Where are all the videos that Jeffrey Epstein has acquired throughout the years? Where's all the evidence? Why hasn't the Zorro Ranch been raided yet? Farmer said there were other things that seemed to be off about Epstein, like the fact that he never seemed to work, and he told her he got at least 3 massages a day. Farmer, who was suing Epstein's estate, alleged in a lawsuit that while she was working the front door at Epstein's townhouse, she became concerned with things she said she saw involving him and Maxwell. Ghislaine was 100% the lady of the house at Jeffrey's, she said. That goes into what I think as well. She wasn't just a lady of the house at Jeffrey's, she was the lady of the house with Jeffrey. At the time, Epstein was a financial advisor to billionaire Leslie Wexner, the founder and CEO of L Brands, which owns Victoria's Secret and Bath and Body Works. Farmer said she would see young girls regularly coming to the townhouse, signing the ledger, and going upstairs. She said Maxwell told her that she and Epstein were model scouts who were auditioning models for Victoria's Secret, according to her civil complaint. Victoria's Secret. I haven't really went on a rant about them lately, but we all know what time it is with those folks. We know that Jeffrey Epstein used Victoria's Secret as a fertile hunting ground for his victims. We know that Les Wexner was one of the biggest, if not the biggest, enabler of all time. And we also know that Les Wexner knew a lot more than he says. Maxwell would go out on these drives to procure models. She would say, "These are the nubiles. I need the nubiles." That was her word, Farmer said. I asked Elaine, "Why are you always going on to fetch children?" She made it clear. Jeffrey worked for Les Wexner, and they were just acquiring models for Victoria's Secret. There you go, right there. How is this not, again, I read the RICO statute that's in the on justice.gov. How is this not a RICO case? I knew something was wrong. I didn't know what was wrong, Farmer added. ABC News reached out to L Brands for comment, including if Epstein and Maxwell had been model scouts for the company, but the company hasn't responded. But last year, the company told Business Insider that L Brands had hired an outside law firm to review Epstein's relationship with the company, adding that it did not believe Epstein was ever employed by L Brands or served as an authorized representative. That's a lie. That's a lie. He was in charge of all of Wexner's money, so wouldn't that make him in charge of all of Wexner's assets as well? Anyone who thinks that Jeffrey Epstein wasn't using Victoria's Secret as a fertile hunting ground for his activities is out to lunch, okay? That is exactly what was occurring, in fact. In the summer of 1996, Farmer said she was given an opportunity to provide some artwork for a feature film, so she told Epstein she was quitting. She said Epstein instead offered that she move out to a home he said he had acquired in New Albany, Ohio, a community developed by Wexner, where she could have more space to work. According to Farmer's lawsuit, at one point, Epstein and Maxwell came to Ohio for a visit and stayed at the home with her. It was during this visit that Farmer said everything she thought she knew about them changed. Farmer's lawsuit alleges Maxwell asked her to come to Epstein's bedroom one night. When she walked in, Farmer said she found Epstein lying on the bed with socks and boxers on, and he asked her to rub his feet. I knew I was in trouble, Farmer said. I've never rubbed my boss's feet. So I'm like, I don't think I'm very good at this. And he goes, sit right there, tapping on the bed. And I thought, oh God. That's when, according to Farmer's lawsuit, Epstein and Maxwell proceeded to violently sexually assault her. Maxwell is referenced in Farmer's lawsuit against Epstein's estate, but she is not named as a defendant. I sat down, and Ghislaine got on the other side of me, and they proceeded to touch me, Farmer said. I don't remember the assault. I remember being in a lot of pain. I remember having some bruises. I don't remember everything they touched, but they didn't get my clothes off. They tried. I was in absolute panic to the point where I was able to get myself up and get out of the room, she continued, and Ghislaine came after me, but I literally took these big pieces of furniture and I pushed them against the doors, and I stayed up all night. Farmer said she barricaded herself in her room and called the police, but she said they didn't respond. The New Albany Police Department told ABC News it doesn't retain 9/11 records going back to the 90s, and attempts to find records at other local departments were unsuccessful. Farmer said she stayed in her room all night, and when she came out the next morning, Epstein and Maxwell were gone. The next day, she said she got a call from Epstein, who allegedly offered her money, but she refused and never worked for him again. He said, Maria, I will do whatever you want. I am so sorry. What can I give you? I will give you any amount of money, Farmer explained. According to her lawsuit, Farmer said that after the alleged incident, Maxwell called her on Epstein's behalf and threatened to have all those paintings she had at the townhouse burned. On August 26, 1996, Farmer said she told the New York City Police Department about the alleged sexual assault, but Farmer said she was told the NYPD couldn't do anything about the alleged incident because it occurred out of state. She said the NYPD referred her to the FBI, but they did take a report from her about Epstein concerning her artwork. Farmer said she called the FBI later that same day, but nothing happened. Well, that's shocking, right? I mean, the FBI, they're so on top of their game. They are so on top of their game. The FBI just always comes through in the clutch, don't they? Don't they? When ABC News asked the FBI about Farmer's report, as a matter of policy, the FBI declined to comment, and it wouldn't confirm or deny whether it exists. See, I don't like that. If the person who made the complaint is saying, yeah, I want you to make it public, then the FBI has no right to hide it. Make it public if the person wants it public. Stop with the games, FBI. Stop with the games, okay? J. Edgar Hoover's long gone. You people need to whip into shape and get with the times. Maxwell's attorneys did not return requests for comments for this report. By 2008, authorities in Florida had spent nearly 2 years investigating Epstein for allegations he had sexually assaulted minors. But the federal government entered into the then-secret non-prosecution agreement with Epstein that spared him a potential lengthy prison sentence in exchange for guilty pleas for 2 lesser state prostitution charges. He served just 13 months of an 18-month sentence in a private wing of a county jail and was released in 2009. Epstein was arrested on federal child sex trafficking charges in July 2019, but died in prison a month later before facing trial. The whole ordeal has taken an enormous toll on Farmer. She said she stopped painting for 20 years and only picked it back up in the past year. I actually stopped because I felt like my art had been violated, she said. Not painting for 20 years it caused me to have depression. It was just very painful to not be able to paint and to not do the one thing that I was here to do. To this day, Farmer believes that the FBI had listened to her in 1996 and taken action against Epstein back then. Dozens of other women would have been saved. The FBI wasn't going to take action or listen. They were being told by intelligence, hey, listen, all right? We don't want to hear what you have to say about Epstein. Keep your hands off of him. Do not bring this to our office again. This guy's a huge asset for us, and this is vital to national security. I guarantee you the conversation went something like that. If the FBI had listened to me in 1996, there would have been no more victims, she said. She has chosen to call her series of portraits, The Survivors Project. With each person I'm drawing, I realize that's another person who was harmed, Farmer said, and each one of those should have never happened because I reported so many years before. Farmer will open a month-long solo exhibition of her artwork beginning in March 14th at the Gavlik Gallery in Los Angeles. All right, folks, well, that's going to lead us into tonight, ABC special, 9 p.m. Eastern Time. Let's see what they have to say. All right, let's see what ABC has to say. It's a damn shame they won't be showing that Robach interview, huh? It's a damn shame they squashed that. But let's see what they have to say with the rest of the information they bring. All right, folks, if you'd like to contact me, you can do that at bobbycapucci@protonmail.com. That's BOBBYCAPUCCI@protonmail.com. And if you would like to help support the podcast, you can do that by clicking on the GoFundMe link inside of the description box. All right, everybody, I will be back later on for some more Jeffrey Epstein news. Enjoy your day, everyone.